Yo guys, welcome back today. And today we're going to be talking about another man of African descent. Today we're going to be talking about an emperor and a very important man in African history. And some people might love him, some people might like him, but we can definitely tell his story today. So let's get right into it today. And we're going to talk about the Emperor Haile Selassie. Now, Haile Selassie was born in Ethiopia in 1892 in a town called Jersa Goro, which is in eastern Ethiopia. His original name was Lich Tafari Makonnen, and he was the only surviving son of Ras Makonnen, the governor of Harar. Haile Selassie's father had many important allies, one being his cousin, Emperor Menelik II, in which he was chief advisor to. Haile Selassie was very educated and soon impressed Emperor Menelik with his intellectual abilities. So with Haile Selassie's ability and intellect, Emperor Menelik II soon promoted Haile Selassie to governor of Sidamo and then Harar. Haile Selassie had a very progressive mind state and wanted to break the local feudal powers of nobility and increase central government authority. Emperor Menelik did not have a male successor at the time, so Haile Selassie was taken under his wing in 1906 when Selassie's father died. Soon after, in 1911, he married Wezaro Manen, a great-granddaughter of Menelik II. Though in 1913, Emperor Menelik passed away. With his passing, the emperor's grandson, Lij Yasu, was appointed as emperor, not Haile Selassie. Soon after, in 1917, Zoditu, Menelik's second granddaughter, became empress. This would not last for long due to Yasu's association with Islam and the majority Ethiopian Christian population, as well as his reliability being questioned. We also must note that outside of Islam and Christianity, there are traditional African religions in Ethiopia as well. So with this event playing out, Haile Selassie became regent and heir as well as the face of opposition. In 1916, Haile Selassie took power from Lij Yasu as well as imprisoned Yasu for life. In 1923, he had major success with getting Ethiopia into the League of Nations as well. He would visit different parts of the world, including Europe and Jamaica. Haile Selassie visited over 160 countries, and in 1928, he assumed the title of Negus, which means king. Zoditu soon passed away in 1930, and Haile Selassie would take the throne and become the emperor. This is also when he received the title Emperor Haile Selassie. Haile Selassie had progressive views and came to symbolize hope and the dream of Ethiopian youths, as well as African descent people outside of Ethiopia and around the world. His name means Might of Trinity, and over the next 40 years, Haile Selassie introduced reforms and strengthened police as well as schools. Haile Selassie would visit different provinces in Ethiopia and would even give children money to buy school supplies as well. Now, there is also a story in which a young boy was dating a young girl, in which itself was very taboo at the time in Ethiopia. This being taboo, the boy had to walk with the girl at a small distance and avoid roads that would lead to her brothers seeing her. While the boy and the girl walked by a home, the boy heard a tap at the window. When he and the young girl turned around, it was Emperor Haile Selassie standing right in front of them. The young boy and girl immediately bowed to the king, and Haile Selassie responded and said, "I saw you." Now, Haile Selassie also outlawed feudal taxation as well. Haile Selassie centralized his power during his rule, as well as instituted a new constitution. He ran the government as well as royalty. In 1936, Italy invaded Ethiopia during World War II, and Haile Selassie led the Ethiopian resistance. That same year, he was forced into exile. We must note that this was a very huge war, and the world was involved even if they did not wish to be. The world watched as battleships were stationed in the Mediterranean and the world leaders were on edge. He would once again become the face of resistance. He would soon go before the League of Nations in Geneva and give a very memorable speech as well. Now, Haile Selassie being in the situation that he was in, he requested assistance and eventually secured the help of the British to reclaim the country in 1941 from Sudan. Soon after, Addis Ababa was recaptured by Ethiopians and British forces. During this time, there was an ongoing massive sweep of colonialism across Africa, and Haile Selassie tried again to modernize Ethiopia. In 1955, a new constitution was administered by Haile Selassie in which equal rights for Ethiopian citizens were administered under law. He also built his ideas around people. He wanted pilots, educators, engineers in a modern Ethiopia. He would also let people visit the royal palace as well, and there are also many accounts of Emperor Haile Selassie visiting local plays and theaters as well. He told many people to continue with their acting in theater, and many listened and were very successful in their fields. This was the influence that he had on people. Haile Selassie also helped start Ethiopian Airlines, which is still successful to this day, and he also followed through with social, economic, and educational reforms. In 1970, famine broke out, unemployment worsened, and the people became increasingly frustrated with the government. The government's inability to respond to the country's problems would be Haile Selassie's decline. Now, the army had rebellions within itself over low pay and nobility owning majority of the land in Ethiopia. One army incident led to a part of the army taking over the capital, Addis Ababa, but eventually being defeated. There was also a problem that Eritrea was trying to break away from Ethiopian Eritrean Federation. This would also hurt Ethiopia's access to the sea and lead to the break of its northern province, which is Eritrea. Haile Selassie was eventually pushed from power by Mengistu Haile Mariam in a coup and kept under house arrest in his palace until his death in 1975. Some of Haile Selassie's family fled while others stayed. He even has writings of his home life with his wife and kids in which he is very detailed in. Now, how he died is still not confirmed. Some say he died naturally, and others say that he was strangled or shot. In 1992, Haile Selassie's remains was discovered, buried under a toilet in the imperial palace. In November 2000, the late emperor received a proper burial when his body was laid to rest in Addis Ababa's Trinity Cathedral. The longtime ruler states that his bloodline traces back to Menelik I, who was credited with being the child of King Solomon and Queen Sheba. He also made Addis Ababa the major center for the Organization of African Unity, and which now today we know as the African Union. So guys, today we learned about a very, very historical emperor in Africa, a king in Africa, and a ruler, and someone that had different views from what everybody around him had in some aspects, and tried to administer them, and wanted freedom for Africa, wanted freedom for majority of people of African descent around the world, all people of African descent around the world. There's some people that might disagree with how he went about doing it. There's some people that love him, but we must acknowledge his story. His story is a very legendary story. A lot of Rastafarians, if you know about Rastafari and Rastafarians, he's definitely a part of their belief system and what they believe in. So if you guys didn't check it out, you can check out my other video where I did a video on Rastafari and see how Haile Selassie plays a big role in Rastafari and Jamaican culture and all around the world. So guys, like I always say, like me on all social medias, African Network, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and SoundCloud. And yo, until next time guys, always learn, each one teach one, spread knowledge to each one, your brothers and your sisters, treat each other like a queen, treat each other like a king. And yo, until next time, peace, one love.
What's up, what's up?
Hey.
Shalom.
What up?
Hi.
African